Well, hi there. Good afternoon and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph and I'm the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other forms of rock music. So, today we're doing our series which is on rock and roll greats who thrilled us but have since passed on. So, I chose two people today, not necessarily in the rock genre. I could have chosen any particular one that I thought about choosing, but I decided to choose these two people. Anyways, this is episode 21 from 1984, and the first person we're doing is Willie Mae Thornton, also known as Big Mama Thornton, a rhythm and blues singer from basically from the 50s period. The reason I chose her is that, well, there's a couple of reasons. The first reason was that she did the song Hound Dog originally, and it went to number one. And it also sold over 2 million copies, which is quite a lot for a blues musical singer, especially a female black woman in the early 50s. So I decided that, and then the fact that she was very big stage presence too, not just its stature. She was quite tall, but she had a very strong personality as well. Anyways, we're going to do our customary wing, which I give you the kind of stats on her a bit. She was born December the 11th, 1926 in Ayrton, Alabama. Some of her listings shows her as Montgomery, but I think it's just because Montgomery was the big city in the area. She died July 25th, 1984 at the age of 57 in Los Angeles, California. The music that she sung in was primarily R&B and what they called Texas blues. To be honest with you, though, I've listened to some of her videos and watched some of the stuff that she recorded. It's almost right there. You might want to classify it as a bit of R&B and rock here, like early rock music, but it's definitely R&B for sure. Anyways, she was a singer. They don't list any instruments, but I've seen her play the harmonica, and she's quite good at it. So I listed that as one of her abilities as well. She was active from 1947 through to 1984 upon her death. Okay, so a little bit about her. Part of the other reason I chose her, I just want to talk a little bit about that, is her stage presence. The music that she performed was, to me, really borderline early rock music, and she had a strong stage presence, and she knew how to work the audience. She was good at that. Also, she had performed with other legends that I've talked about here, Muddy Waters for sure, and John Lee Hooker, who I quite like a lot, and Buddy Guy, of course, as well. And so anyways, her biggest hit, of course, was Hound Dog, which went to number one for 7 weeks and sold pretty close to 2 million copies. And we all know this song from... The funny part about this song is she was considered a bit of a black female kind of power, like that kind of getting black female power out there. She was a little bit like that, and the song was mostly about that. It's funny how Elvis took the song on, which that's where we know the song from pretty much, and it wasn't quite the same impact. She initially didn't like him doing it, but after a while I guess she got kind of used to it and it didn't bother her as much. And the fact that it's probably got her some decent royalties as well, because it went to number one as well, again under him, but sold 10 million copies. It's a lot more gravy there, right? I'm not saying that she was into it just for the money, but I mean, money's money, right? Everybody needs it to survive. What else? She did this. She toured around in the 50s with Junior Parker and Esther Phillips, another noted person who actually died the same year as her, and she'll be part of my honorable mentions later. The song Ball and Chain is another big hit by her. Originally she recorded it, but for some reason they never released it. They held on to it, and then eventually Janis Joplin did this song, and it did very well. And she was the one who gave permission to Janis Joplin to do the song, and of course she got royalties for that too. So it's a paycheck, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And the fact that a notable singer like that would want to do something from her has got to be notable. Like, she was an influence on some of the bigger stars, right? I mean, who's bigger than Elvis? Janis Joplin is a legend as well. Okay, she and one of the points, she always had this dream of releasing a gospel record. She always wanted to do a gospel record. It had been a dream of hers, and during the blues revival in the late 60s, she was signed, and she got to finally do her gospel record, which included some Oh Happy Days and what was that other one? I try to find my notes here where I wrote it. Oh yeah, Oh Happy Days and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. There was some other fairly notable tracks on this album that she did well. She has a very strong, powerful voice. She did do a European tour in 1972 through the month of March, and they went through like France and Germany and Switzerland and ended up in Sweden at the end. And this gave a chance for a lot of musicians over there who really wanted to see these kind of artists. And she was on tour with a whole whack of people, like 10 or 15 people, and they all performed. And basically, I think they did this was basically for the musicians who were European musicians who really wanted to see the influence that these type of people influenced on them. Like, they wanted to see them. So she got to do that tour. There's a couple other things before I get to the final thing. She got her nickname from Frank Schiffman. He basically was, I think he was in charge of the Apollo Theater. And then again, I could be wrong about the theater. I didn't write it down, but I think it was the Apollo Theater, and he gave her the name Big Mama Thornton because of her stature, because of her the voice that she had, and the strong stage personality. And I tend to agree 100% here. She was a big woman who had very strong stage presence and a big personality. She dominated the stage, I think, and she would go right into the crowd. She was I can see where Janis Joplin gets her influence from, anyways. What else can we say about it? Oh, the song I already talked about. The song "Ball and Chain," I think it's her best song myself. I've heard a few of her other ones. I like it the best. She was nominated for the Blues Hall of Fame, which she was inducted into, but this song was nominated to go in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as one of the 500 songs that influenced rock and roll the most, and it was in amongst these songs. Okay, there was just one more thing before I get into the final part. I watched several of her videos. As I said, she's very good. She does this one particular song, can't think of the name of it right now, where she does like a lead harmonica going into the song, and then there's a little bit of music, and then she does some more harmonica. And she's quite a good harmonica player. Like, she's got the real bluesy sound to her harmonica, which I have to say this, that's the only time I like harmonica in music. I'm not a big fan of it in music where it isn't bluesy. If it's not bluesy, it just doesn't quite fit. But that and that one particular genre, I do like it that way, and she's very good at it. And to me, the videos I saw, it's bordering on being rock music to me. Like, it's yes, it's rhythm and blues, which is kind of rocky and a lot in its own way, and in this particular song is very rocky and very bluesy. So anyways, she did die. When she died of heart and liver complications ailment in 1984, and pretty much was brought on by her drinking. She became a heavy drinker, person who drank a lot. She went up to about 450 pounds, and then all of a sudden she lost, like in a short period of time, she lost that and went down to 95 pounds. Well, God, can't imagine your system handling losing 3/4 of its body weight in a short period of time like that. I would have to think heart failure would have been the final thing. But anyways, I'm not going to digress into that. I just wanted to give some feel out there and some love to Big Mama Thornton, who I think is one of the biggest influences on the rhythm and blues music, which of course led to our rock and roll, and big influence on some big time people too. So there you have it, Big Mama Thornton. So the second person I chose, and I've got about 5 honorable mentions. This number 2 was going to be number 1. Was going to be in. It was between Big Mama Thornton and a couple of other people. Excuse me. I chose her because I just think that she just had that rocky feeling to her, and she was a big stage presence. And even though I like the one guy quite a bit because I liked the group earlier in they're from the early 70s and late 70s, and I did like their music in that time period, but I just think she has more of an impact. So the other guy I chose today is Percy Mayfield. Some people won't see the tie here, and that's fine. But I don't know how you can not put Percy Mayfield in as one of your people. He's just so influential and just have had an impact as a writer on so many different people, if nothing else. And he could sing too. He had a bit of a nasally, kind of low nasally voice. Not the best of voices, but not a terrible voice by any stretch. And anyway, so Percy Mayfield, born August the 12th, 1920, in Minden, Webster Parish in Louisiana. Died August the 11th, 1984, at the age of 63, so actually one day before his birthday. Yeah, I know. Los Angeles, California is where he lived when it happened. Basically an R&B music singer, but I think he's more notable for his writing ability than he was for his actual singing. I think that's where his claim to fame comes into. Of course, singer-songwriter. He was active from 47 until the 1960s, pretty much. Okay, so he moved to Texas at the start of his music career. And this is the same as Big Mama Thornton. She moved to Texas and then eventually ended up in Los Angeles. And same with him. Moved to Los Angeles. He was there from 1942 to 47. He really didn't have much success in the first 5 years. It took him until a small label decided to sign him. Swingtown was the name of the label. They signed him to record his first song, 2 Years of Torture, with a band. The band included, I'm going to need my glasses for this because I kind of wrote it a bit smaller than they should have. Maxwell Davis on sax, Chuck Norris, not Mr. Kung Fu there, but another guy, guitar, Willard Daniels, pianist or piano player if you prefer, and he did that, recorded, did strong. It did pretty strong business, which got him on the map. He got noticed by a few others, but he did sign in 1950 as primarily a singer, but also he had about 6 kind of R&B hits. Nothing great, but some hits that he sang. But this brought his attention to, in 1952, to Ray Charles was the person that noticed him, and then he started writing for other people at this point in time. And Ray Charles had about 15 songs that he wrote for Ray Charles, and was, primarily writing for people after that. What happened was in 1952 he had an automobile accident which disfigured him severely. He was 2 years recovering from that, and he really never toured or sang again live. Basically, I think he did do some recording of his own, because he still had the voice, but mostly he just wrote for other people, and like I said, he was a bit of a prolific writer. Okay, what else can I tell you about him? Yeah, so he died on his 64th birthday. I actually did not write down what he died from, which is somewhat unusual for me, but I didn't. I can't even remember. So if anybody remembers, that would be nice to know, since that's what we're doing here. Sometimes I miss the boat on some things. Yeah, so very, he had a bit, like I said, he had a very nasally voice, and he was also very bluesy sounding. So Peter Mayfield, Peter Mayfield, what am I talking about? Percy Mayfield, I think was, had a big influence, because he wrote a lot of songs for a lot of notable people in the rock industry, and some of them borderline rock, but still, I mean, is there many people that are known better than Ray Charles? Some, but not maybe as many as you think. And I liked his singing, and I liked his music, but it's just voice is a bit too nasally for me on the nasally side. So, anyways, there you have it. The two artists that I chose today to pick: Percy Mayfield and Big Mama Thornton, from both from kind of a bluesy, rhythm and bluesy background. So the other artists that I think deserve honorable mention here that have passed that year were Rob oh my god, I knew I was going to screw this up. Rob Tabak. Okay, now we're good. From Prism. Prism is a band that I liked quite a bit, so he was the other artist that I kind of was wanting to get in here, but decided on the other two. That's my final choice, right? Count Basie, of course, maybe not associated with rock, but definitely a well-known, established big band musician. Marvin Gaye from Motown, can't dismiss him. Many people would probably think that he should be one of the people I did today. But I'm not a huge fan of Motown. I don't mind some of the artists there, but I chose the two I chose for my reasons I already stated. So but I am mentioning, can't not mention Marvin Gaye here. Ray Donner, basically a rock singer, very similar to Elvis Presley in a lot of ways in his mannerisms and vocals and stuff. So I've given him some notes today. And of course, the other R&B singer that I kind of flipped between the two, between Big Mama Thornton and Esther Phillips. Both pretty strong. Esther Phillips may be a little more well known, but I chose Big Mama Thornton just because, for the reasons I stated earlier, I just think she's a stronger personality and more rocky than Esther Phillips was. So there you have it. Rock artists who thrilled us and have since passed on. Episode number 21. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'm sorry for the late delay in releasing it today. Had a lot of stuff going on, and I spent quite a bit of time getting this together too. I could have released it maybe a couple hours earlier, but I wanted to be sure about a few things, so I listened to quite a bit of stuff before I decided to release it. So I hope you guys are understanding of that. Weekends are always hardest for releasing. I got so much to do. I tend to do most of my video making during the week, so that stuff can be released on the proper time, but this week it wasn't possible. So I hope you enjoyed it anyways, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Got some stuff coming up this week, taking on maybe a 3-part project for my Wednesday night favorites. So I decided I wanted to do my favorite progressive rock songs, but then there's so many of them, I decided that maybe if I split it up somehow. And then it came to me because I was looking at some Genesis stuff, because I know a guy who's a keyboardist and they play Genesis stuff, and then I started thinking about that, and then I remembered that Genesis did that shorts and longs. Wow, that's a neat concept. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to split it into two originally. I was going to have the short songs that I liked, my top 25 short songs, and then do another episode of my 25 long songs. And I began to realize after I started going through this that where do you draw the line? And then I decided, you know what, there's so many long songs that I like that I could easily do a top 50. I didn't want to do that because I like to stick with my stats. So then I said, hey, I got an idea. We'll do, instead of doing shorts and longs, we'll do shorts, longs, and then we'll do epics. So pretty much epics are songs that are going to be the longest of the songs. So I've decided to break it into these three categories. So it'll be shorts, which will be under 6 minutes. You might say that's not really that short when it comes to rock songs, but for prog songs, that's pretty short. And since we're doing prog songs here primarily because I'm a progressive rock lover, I decided that 6 would be the cutoff point. And then from 6 to about 12, 13, I'm going to say 14 minutes. So from basically 6 minutes to 14, I'm going to do my longs. And then from 14 and above, I'm going to do my epics. There's quite a few epics, but not as many as you would think. And many of those were released by a core group of bands, which, to be honest with you, it's not strange that my favorite rock bands, my top 10 or so favorite rock bands, all fall into these bands that produced epics. It's because the epics are the things that draw me in, right? Not always, but a lot of cases it is. So there may be several repeats in my top 25 epics. So it's going to be a 3-part piece. A will be the shorts, B will be the longs, and then C will be the epics. And that'll be a 3-part episode starting this Wednesday night and continuing for 3 Wednesdays. So I hope you're looking forward to that. It's going to take some work to put it together, but I think the response to my top 25 favorite progressive rocks albums of all time has made me think that maybe this might be something people would be interested in seeing. So there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, like I said, and please have a good day. Be safe, and we'll see you next episode. Bye.